Cinnamon!
Hope you're well, wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
This week, footy films.
Yes.
As football fever has gripped Europe and the Americas, right? It's the Copa America as well.
It is the time of the Copa America as well.
So it's sort of there's a feeling, that, particularly as it's international football, it tends to sort of capture the imagination of more people, I guess, because it sort of ties into like national pride and all that kind of stuff. Even converting those who are usually a little bit resistant to football's charms, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely.
So we thought we'd do a Cineboys to Cinemen special about footy films.
We were going to do La Camera. Chimera. We didn't in the end. There was a myriad of different sort of factors that prevented us from recording that episode. I don't want to say it's the main culprit, but pollen was a genuine factor.
Yes, definitely. Yeah,
but we're back, and looking forward to this one. I'm not so much a football fan as these two fine gentlemen. We obviously with us we have Monsieur Lee Markham.
Thank you once again for inviting me, and I think it's safe to say, obviously, there may have been some sort of kind of suffering from pollen, and obviously I'm kind of right in the middle of what one might call Euro fever. But I thought let's get talking about football films, because if there's one thing that goes together like chalk and cheese, it's football and cinema. And that's if the chalk's broken and the cheese is rotten, mainly, because it's difficult.
Diminishing returns.
Yeah, in comparison to most sports, which seem to be very cinematic and tend to make the sports actually more interesting, but football hasn't quite been as successful, really. But there's some good ones, and I'm sure we'll talk about them more, but seems to be more stinkers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it, for a sport that is probably the most popular in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to have the same sort of cinematic quality to it as like boxing cinema or even like American football movies.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Yeah, like I'm sure like we've all been guilty of like watching some sort of sports film and maybe being like so taken by it, you think, oh, maybe I'll actually give the sport a little bit of a kind of like watch like once, and then you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. Like, you like your golfs and your American footballs and
basketball,
like Happy
well.
Gilmore.
Yeah.
Exactly. I reckon that influenced loads of people to play golf.
Oh yeah.
And the actual sport of golf is nowhere near as fun.
Yeah.
No, not at all. But no, it was your idea, Lee. So, and it's a fantastic idea, as you say. Euro fever, very much feeling it at the moment. The energy is palpable.
I'd say
and
so,
it was a great idea, so we couldn't resist the idea. It felt like perfect timing.
Yeah, I think so. Even for obviously our beloved England's lack of trying, they haven't quite got rid of Euro fever just yet. No, there's time.
Yeah, don't worry yet. Keep Slovenia tomorrow.
But maybe if they watched some of the films that we might be talking about, they might be inspired to go on to victory.
I think you might be quite... Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. I think the squad simply must listen to this podcast.
Yeah. Yes.
It's essential listening, really,
It is. Nothing will rouse the boys.
I think so. And
sexually and spiritually than this episode.
I'm glad you said it, and, they need Gary Lineker off their back at some point. And,
exactly.
Maybe if they listen to some of his advice and listen to his podcast and watch some of these football films, we could be dealing with European champions in a few weeks.
No, I think so. Yeah, let's do that now.
Questing the cinematic void.
Sorry.
Okay, so I just want to pick up on the point that you brought up in the intro, Lee, and I guess start this special ep with a question. Why is it, do you think, that football films don't have the sort of the same sort of cinematic punch to them that like boxing cinema does, or like even like we said in the intro, like NFL or basketball? Like football really doesn't have a film that can really sort of stand on its 2 feet in the same way, like Raging Bull or He Got Game. These are fucking great sports movies, but football doesn't have one?
I think one of the reasons why football hasn't translated onto the screen as successful as the other sports is probably because of its growing reputation in like America now. It's been a slow builder in the United States in popularity. Obviously, it's been around for like decades, but it's kind of come in ebbs and flows of popularity, really. Obviously, you had like the North American Soccer League in the 70s and the likes of like Pele and Beckenbauer going over for like 2 or 3 years in the late 70s. But I think it was kind of seen as a bit flash in the pan. But obviously since it's always been popular with the rest of the world, but obviously as the United States is the biggest kind of exporter of kind of film, really, other than Bollywood probably. It's just never really been one of their prime interests, really.
And they sort of, what you're saying, they sort of control the market on these things almost.
I would say so. Like, I feel like there's probably a few smaller British films that obviously tackle football, whether it's like directly or indirectly, with varying success.
Yeah.
But there's never been like a real big football hit in the same way there has been. Like, there's probably countless other sports films which...
I could just think of so many, like you said, that He Got Game, Raging Bull, Rocky, Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, there's a TV series and the film as well.
You know, like, it just feels like, I think you might be onto something there. The idea that obviously has America alongside Bollywood are the sort of, you know, they have this massive cultural influence that they exert across most of the world, if not the entire world. And yeah, maybe that does have an impact on the sort of need for football films. But it's interesting though that, like, obviously you say, like, in England obviously we've got football films, but obviously like all of Europe, the Americas, you know, that football mad.
Yeah.
So it's surprising to me that there hasn't been like a sort of world cinema gem that sort of burst through the dominance that Hollywood typically exude.
I feel like as well, maybe it's to do with the fact that it was always quite a working class sport.
Yeah.
And like the fandom would be mainly working class. So like, you know, even in the kind of other kind of media industries and film industries, you obviously have had kind of a lot of working class directors kind of break through, but it's a lot of kind of middle or upper class folks who probably, especially back in the day.
Well, even now, I mean,
like,
you see the statistics these days. It's pretty like, the odds of you finding success in this industry if you're not sort of upper class is it's really difficult.
Yeah. Like, so it's only really like the 80s and 90s when you started getting like, you know, a lot of kind of actors talking, like even actors, performers, directors, like talking about liking football. Like, I think like Hugh Grant's like a Fulham fan, and if you thought Fulham, there couldn't be a more Fulham fan than Hugh Grant. It's very like, but I think the only, obviously, I think most people's film references of football for a long time was probably the football scene in Kes, where the where the PE teachers channeling his inner Bobby Charlton and schooling those kids on the beautiful game.
I think I have a kind of alternative theory as well as to why football isn't quite so popular with the cinematic in the cinematic realm, shall we say. I don't know, I'd like to get your take on this, because I might be totally wrong in this assumption, but is it down to a little bit like the way it's played, right? So with American football you have a quarterback, right? And that to me is a kind of proxy for a star, or like the person to follow. Like, you hear about quarterbacks for some reason, but in football I know you have strikers and defenders, etc., but it's so much a team. It's like more so than most other sports, I say. It's like a team sport where you're kind of free to roam the entire pitch, bar obviously like the offside rule, etc. Like, yeah, I know about the offside rule. But like, because of that, is it hard to adapt? Like, is it hard to create a story?
I think there's definitely something in there. Obviously, with an American football, NFL, kind of team. The teams are massive, but you also, you have like your quarterback, and it is quite a kind of cinematic, very visually pleasing. Like, you've got the guy who kind of receives the ball straight away. He's kind of commanding kind of play.
Dolly track will do it, right?
Yeah.
It's just straight. Straightforward,
and it's very easy to kind of slow that down and dramatise it. Whereas you don't quite have that figure in football, and with basket, like, because one might argue, it's quite similar pace wise the sport to basketball, but I feel like, again, visually, basketball's like, hitting a 3-pointer or a slam dunk's a lot more visually pleasing on it cinematically than just somebody like scoring from 20 yards out.
Yeah.
I think it's getting better. Like, I feel like, especially with the popularity of football and with technology, and I guess just people getting a bit more interested in it. Like, you can make football more interesting, but back in the day in particular, especially with like your muddy pitches and like everybody who played football at the time had about 3 teeth and
smoked like 40 a day.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something there, because until very recently, football was never really seen as a particularly glamorous sport, was it?
Yeah.
Like, if you think about like basketball, I mean, obviously, look, I'm not saying that
it's played indoors, though,
but it's,
right?
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm showing my lack of knowledge here about basketball, but
I think it's played indoors.
Yeah,
I've been to a game. It is, yeah.
But like, there's something more inherently glamorous about basketball than there is about football, I think.
Yeah. Squeaky. There's sort of more opportunity for like sound effects, interesting camera angles with like, where you frame a basketball hoop, you put the camera directly below it. That's a really interesting shot. The goalposts, you have to stay wide, or you have to do that kind of cliche of an extreme close up of the net and the ball kind of disrupting the, creating that sort of a sort of triangle formation within, and that's very quickly become a cliche.
Also, I guess in basketball films, loads of them are kind of set in these sort of decaying urban environments as well.
It's true, yeah.
I don't know,
Coach Carter.
But I think you're right. Maybe there's something that's a little bit less transferable about football. Maybe
I think so. Like, I feel like there's room for improvement nowadays. But definitely back in the day, other sports were seen as more glamorous, and to a particularly North American audience, which most film producers are gonna kind of market to, there's just more bankability in telling a story about kind of like a star basketball player who, like, on the film screen is going to be more visually pleasing. You can see that they're kind of commanding the court more impressively. I think as well, because of a basketball court or something smaller, like, the star player or the franchise player can be seen to kind of command the court more, whereas like a football pitch, the star player might not touch the ball for the first half an hour of a football game.
Yeah,
and that's not very interesting for a film.
Again, also low scoring as well. Comparatively low scoring.
And like your quarterback in an NFL, every time they kind of go again, he's got the ball, like he's throwing it. That's about all I know about American football. They tackle.
I think there's a much more emphasis on the singular nature of the individual in American football than there is in English football.
Yeah,
because it's like, it isn't. Yeah, you get like goal scorers and you have your favourite players and stuff, but like, it is, a player. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but a player who sort of passes the ball to someone who then scores is like held in almost as equally high regard as the person who actually scored, because like a cross, right? And then that just divides it. I think there is something in that.
Yeah, and I think as a film industry, I think the British film industry, they've never really, they have a few, but like they've never really been that interested in doing like a big, loud sports film. Really, it's not really our cup of tea.
The films tend to be more sort of woven into like a sort of working class story, or like a film where someone playing football in itself is like an act of rebellion, or a sign of the changing times, or the struggles that are needed to be sort of overcome for the times to change for the better, right?
Yeah.
It's never usually just a film about sort of the sport itself, or the sort of beauty of the sport and its appeal, and its sort of how trenchant it is in sort of working class communities and has been for hundreds of years. That kind of stuff, it does exist in certain movies. And funnily enough, in a lot of American like teen comedies, the jocks always seem to play soccer or football. I was going to say soccer because that's what they say.
It
hurts me to say it, but you know, like,
listen, we might have to use the S word sometime.
It's
fine.
Soccer.
But you know, like, so it's sort of relegated as sort of like a side narrative device. It doesn't really do much for the story. But I don't know, it's weird. But in England, it does seem to be like, and a couple of other examples we talk about. I think there's a certain Iranian film we want to talk about. Again, it's like it's a way in which people can challenge the established order through the sport, which I think is ultimately a positive representation of how the sport can do that, how it can be a vessel for change. Because I think in a world where the sport is becoming increasingly more about money, it's harder, I guess, for sort of outsiders to see the merits of it, you know, which again could be a problem with it, because, you know, in certain circles it's just not seen as a sort of, you know, you can be perceived as a bit of a yob. Football,
definitely.
Especially in America, and like, you know, what they did with Green Street. You know,
God,
I think that was an American director, or like Elijah.
It was a German director, but it was American production.
That's it, and it's their perception of hooliganism.
What they see football hooliganism as.
But it ended up being hugely popular with English men.
It had like a kind of questionable moral through line.
Well, that's what we said in the blaxploitation episode, didn't we? All those many moons ago. But, I'd completely forgotten about that movie in that context.
I don't know if you could call it a football film per se, because it's not really about a tournament.
No,
but it is obviously woven into the plot heavily. The culture more so than the sport itself. I think there's like 2 football matches in it. And it's fleeting, and it's always focused on the people watching, not the people playing. So I don't think any of them kick a football in it.
No, a few heads, but
fucking they do.
I feel like it's mainly the more popular uses of it in like the UK in particular will be films that are kind of football adjacent. They might be about football fandom, or it will just be like a little side story. So you got the adaptation of the Nick Hornby novel Fever Pitch with Colin Firth and Mark Strong, which is a really good kind of like almost like coming of age / kind of rom-com, with Colin Firth playing like a guy who's like absolutely obsessed with Arsenal, and it's around the time they won league in 1990. But it's based on like a really good novel, I think it's autobiographical, but just about his love of Arsenal, and it's basically a solid, one of those feel-good 90s British kind of films where, you know, it was, I think, just after Pride and Prejudice, so he was in the beginning of the kind of heartthrob stage. I know you're not his biggest fan.
No, I don't like him at all, but I recognise his kind of steps in his career. I haven't actually seen Fever Pitch. But
no, nor have I.
I'd like to watch it. I would still watch a film with him, especially early Firth, where he wasn't so revered by people. Like, that's what I find confusing. But anyway, I digress.
And this is just like dorky, like way too obsessed Arsenal football fan who's kind of putting it above basically everything in his life. To the fact it becomes like a kind of detrimental, really.
It sounds like an interesting role for him, to be fair. Like, more interesting than most of the roles he ends up playing. Like, I think he's massively typecast, and actually that is, from what you've described, is one of the few roles where I think that might be interesting to watch him play someone who's because he doesn't look like a football fan. You say his name and you kind of associate him with period dramas or basically like Oscar bait films. That's what I kind of consider him to be.
Yeah.
So for him to be, you know,
this
early
is
on in his career.
90s film 4, so it's very, you know.
Oh, cool. Sorry,
Yeah.
Train Spotting as well,
Yeah.
which just has a bit of a football through line in it for a bit.
And I always remember him from the film 4 DVDs with like the red.
I've got a few of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like them actually.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Classic.
And I can see them there. Look, they got 3 of them.
But yeah, that's probably one of them. Obviously, like we mentioned, kind of cares. It's like loosely in there. I can't think like.
I've got one which actually kind of fits quite well into what both of you have been saying. I would like to discuss it at length at some point. I'm quite interested to see if you mention it before, but it is the highest grossing football film of all time to this day.
Interesting.
Interesting. I'm quite interested.
Is it English?
Yes. Well, yes.
Is this globally or in terms of the gross?
Global gross was 72 million.
Is it Bend It Like Beckham?
That's right. Yeah, Bend It
Is
Like
it like
Beckham.
Beckham?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, I think that's probably one of the kind of
Sorry, I just ruined your surprise.
No. I wanted to see if you guessed it.
Yeah.
I didn't think you would, but there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the high points of like football in like film actually. Like
It's incredibly popular.
Yeah. Again, one of them where it's actually shot quite well as well. The football scenes, like they're quite impressive. Like really done.
The whole film is really 2002.
Oh, without a doubt,
big time.
Obviously, when Beckham was at the kind of height of his powers and not just obviously begging for a knighthood.
Yeah. It is interesting how they
baking mushrooms in his shed.
Yeah, it's very different back in 02.
Yes. Yeah.
But like,
listen, don't knock his mushrooms.
I draw. Yeah.
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, I know. You have said that to me several times. I thought I'd try it anyway.
I do think it's interesting how Bend It Like Beckham doesn't focus on his, because he was very popular amongst young women, like obviously in his prime
as a heartthrob.
Yeah, as a kind of almost sort of Edward Cullen levels of mania.
Yeah.
But they don't focus on that at all. Like the main character in it, Jess, is focused on his skill as a football player. Yeah. She doesn't like sort of profess. She's not even a particularly sort of romantic character, and actually I think the romance in the film was probably the weakest element. I don't know if you remember that.
I think if she was like slavering over Beck, it would probably undermine the film's sort of feminist credentials, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But no, I think it's great. I watched it in preparation for this. Like Hannah mentioned it actually, because I was like, I need some football films. Goal! I couldn't find anywhere.
That's a surprise.
I feel like I've seen 2 of the Goal films, and they are enjoyable, and I think those are the actual attempts to kind of take the American film model of kind of inspirational football films. Rags to Riches, Alan Shearer. David Beckham's also in one of those.
He's in 2, isn't he?
Yeah, playing himself, and
Roberto Carlos
and
Zidane.
Zidane, yeah.
I think Zidane. He's in 2, isn't he? Because he's in Newcastle. Yeah.
He joins. The story of Santiago Nunez and his journey from being a Mexican immigrant, doing gardening in Los Angeles to the wet, muddy Tyneside to
what a journey!
Wear the classic Adidas Newcastle kits.
Was that the NTL one?
I believe so.
I believe
so.
That was a nice kit.
They're enjoyable, but they are undoubtedly crap.
Yeah.
The stories are, of course, completely kind of like far-fetched and showing like the kind of cleanest version of what they think football is. Like, it's that mixture. They obviously have a bit of an interest, but there's a shoehorned love interest in there that I think in the sequels is completely abandoned as he just goes to Real Madrid. See you later, Anna Friel.
God, I forgot it was Anna Friel.
Anna Friel. Finally someone put her and Alan Shearer in a film together.
I mean, the public were asking for it.
Friel, Shearer. Bit like De Niro, and I think I always mention that every time I go. I always that's the benchmark, isn't it?
That's like the sporting equivalent of Heat.
Yes, I think so. I think so. But they're enjoyable. They're well made. Try not to take the script too seriously, but they do the job. I think they're directed by the guy who went on to make the Taken series.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. I'm sure. Well, my brother had the first one on DVD. He was one of the first DVDs that he owned. Was
Yeah.
Goal!
Do you remember Match? Do you remember Match magazine? Do you ever
Yeah,
buy that as a kid?
yeah.
I do,
remember.
yeah.
I remember like when those films came out. Like that's all that was ever on them.
Yeah.
Probably came free with them after a little
Yeah.
while. I
Goal
imagine.
2, The Impossible Dream.
Yeah, living the dream,
Yeah.
taking on the world. I think the third one was called Taking on the World. Wasn't it?
I think,
Yeah.
like, 'cause I think the first one is like solid. It's workmanlike. It basically does like what it's supposed to do. But then obviously as the sequels get on, like, you know, they get more and more far-fetched. I think more and more cast members from Green Street join.
Yeah.
And just you know, I'm pretty sure Tamar Hassan is in one of them.
Oh,
Of course he is.
Yeah.
He's back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, took a break from doing a straight to DVD film with Danny Dyer and so I'll be in one of the goals. I think he is. Either way, he should be.
Yeah,
But
it
if
feels
you-
like his career trajectory leads to a golf film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, I think that was a good. I think that's an interesting kind of turning point actually for kind of football in cinema actually, because that was like Bend It Like Beckham and Goal were probably around the same time.
Feels like they would have been.
Yeah. The same decades for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe within sort of
think-
3 or 4 years of each other.
Yeah, I think it was like both the early 2000s, and obviously you always had like famous footballers and stuff like that from like kind of the beginning of kind of professionalism really, but I feel like almost in a way like David Beckham was like the kind of like first completely global. I think he was the first one to break America.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of. Although interesting, we're going to probably, hopefully, go back to another film star and another footballer who went over to America, aka Pele.
Yeah.
But
Still my favourite football film.
but in terms of like being basically photographed everywhere he went, hanging out with all the celebrities, like, and being on the front of every magazine and just, like being like a good
And hiding in a bush
fella.
outside Buckingham Palace.
Exactly. Listen, he'll get that knighthood one day, even if he has to shoot someone. I'll become king himself.
Yeah.
Goes for
give
Pascal
himself-
Savage.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've always said, like, you know, I feel like Savage and Beckham have had similar hairstyles over the years.
This
I
is
like to
true.
think,
Yeah,
you know.
Beckham. Yeah, who's copying who?
Exactly. I like to think one of 2003, 2004.
So it's floppy hair because he was a skinhead for a bit, wasn't he?
He was.
There's a bit in Bend It Like Beckham where they keep saying to Jess, they're like, "Why do you worship that skinhead?" It's really strange. Yeah,
That's true. Yeah, and he was that sort of person. He was transformative. He would make kind of like skinheads like fashionable. Like,
yeah.
and
completely transformed that the kind of attitude towards certainly that hairstyle had a bit of a ropey history in England. So,
I think so,
to turn that around, just one man is crazy, isn't it?
and I think he was like he made football a commodity over in America, and that would come as well when he went over to play there.
LA Galaxy,
in
wasn't
the
it?
LA Galaxy, like a few years later, but I feel like that was almost a turning point where like football was becoming kind of glamorous rather than just the kind of like, you know, like obviously like the 80s and 90s, like the biggest footballers, like, you know, Maradona he wasn't exactly a looker. Like Gary Lineker, he's aged well, but you know, I wouldn't say when he was younger he was exactly.
I think he was quite handsome in an unconventional sort of way.
Yeah, but like you look at
Beckham
him
is
in
like a poster
comparison
boy.
to Beckham,
Yeah.
you know.
There's a difference.
But yeah, like I feel like that was a kind of good turning point for it. But until then, I'd say there was only kind of a handful of football films before that.
I do like. I watched Bend It Like Beckham in prep. It was the one I chose to watch. I was going to watch Escape to Victory as well, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Great film.
Well, I could, but it was like it didn't quite work. So I ended up just watching this one. It's so. Have you seen it recently, Bend It
No,
Like
not
Beckham?
for a long time.
It's so good. It's like,
really good. I haven't seen it in a while, but I watched it a few times when I was younger. And my older sister was also like I think we watched it because she was also obsessed with David Beckham as well.
Oh, okay.
She wasn't really that into football, but just Beckham.
Oh man, again, he transcended that sort of just sport fans thing, didn't he?
Yeah.
He has a shit cameo at the end of Bend It Like Beckham. Do you remember?
He also does in Goal because his acting leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, in this one, he's just in the airport at the end, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's a sign!" It's just you see him for like a wide shot.
Yeah,
it's clearly him, but you're like, you didn't need to get Beckham in.
No.
You could have just got any guy with a shaved head and a similar stature.
At that point as well, I feel like there was a big market for David Beckham impersonators, so quite a few of those lost out on a gig there.
Absolutely,
so thanks, David.
Yeah.
I just go. It's so good.
Anything for that Noyard.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I do think it's great. Like, it kind of balances like light-hearted comedy. It's like loads of things, like multicultural Britain in the early 2000s as well, like cultural osmosis, obviously the impact on like this Punjabi family, because their daughters are both like in their own ways rebelling. Obviously Jess basically embracing a kind of culture which has largely been associated with the United Kingdom. And it sort of deals with racism in sport a little bit as well. There's a thing about her dad wanting to, like, not being able to play cricket with some fellow, like,
absolutely.
And it all kind of creeps up on you, and it embraces the tropes of like the sport film genre as well. Like, it does have that. There is like a tournament in it, and like they go to Germany at one point, but it's so, like, for that to have all that packed into one film and for it to be coherent, I feel like is a real achievement.
Yeah, so it's a really powerful film, and like, it's it really encapsulates like almost what can be beautiful about Britain.
Yeah.
Because it's showing how kind of multicultural we can be, and how at its best anyone can do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And but also obviously portraying the fact that historically that hasn't always been the case, and isn't always still the case now. But it gives you the hope at the same time as kind of bringing these issues to the table. Yeah,
it really does. Like, that, it does kind of encapsulate, I think, like what the sports should be.
Or what Britain should be.
Yeah,
has
exactly.
always been a multicultural nation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so much of what is, like you say, what is the best thing about Britain is that, all the stuff that has been created as a result of that sort of mixture of different peoples from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting point. I'm not considering. It's been a while since I've seen it, but
it's just such an artifact of like the early 2000s.
Well, there's so many films like that, isn't there? Like, I know we seem to mention the Full Monty quite a lot, but there's like films like that are like on face value pretty sort of straight-laced, crowd-pleasing comedy.
Yeah,
they're actually like you say, they sneak these sort of quite sort of heavy sort of themes and ideas in through the back door almost.
Yeah,
and if and once you become aware of that, the more keenly you're aware of it, the more it wallops you. Like, the whole Full Monty thing, the sort of decline of the steel industry in the 80s, and this sort of, one of the characters trying to kill themselves, and it's played for laughs. But like, if you think about it in the context of what's going on historically at that period, it's it's a pretty sort of sad moment in the movie, and I feel like that's the great strength of films from that era, is that they managed to sort of sneak a lot of this sort of social commentary underneath quite light-hearted comedy.
Gorinda Chadha is really good for that in general. Like, her other work does that and continues to do that today, and that's largely, I think, sort of something that in the last decade certainly sort of been forgotten in England for sure. But she's really good for that kind of thing.
I think it's very much what obviously sometimes it's kind of more cheerful than other, like, and sometimes less, but that's like kind of Ken Loach's kind of bread and butter as well, if you look at something like Ken. But as well, slightly more, well, definitely more recent than Kes, but Looking for Eric.
Oh, I've not seen that. It's about cancer.
2008. Yes, it's about kind of I believe it's he's a postman who's kind of going through depression and kind of going through a lot of kind of shit in his life, having a bit of a midlife crisis, and he gets visions. He's a Man United fan.
Oh yeah,
and he gets visions of Eric Cantona, who just starts kind of giving him life advice and kind of helping him kind of, like, deal with problems and kind of almost be his like kind of like mentor, if you will.
Okay, yeah.
Because especially obviously like Cantona was obviously a very successful footballer with Manchester United, who's gone into acting a little bit as well with kind of varying success. He's probably better than Vinnie Jones, but
he's not bad. He's not terrible.
He's solid. He's a solid actor. But that's a successful kind of version of that as well. And it's it's something which is a bit light-hearted and could be seen as a little bit kind of like twee, but it's Ken Loach, so it's never there's always something going on kind of behind it. He's not really known for kind of just putting out meaningless work.
No, there's always going to be sort of a biting element of critique, societal critique, isn't there?
Yeah, completely. Yeah,
but
even in his more light-hearted films, I mean, the poster for that really put me off. Someone playing a trumpet, and there's like confetti in the background. I remember thinking, but I didn't see Ken Loach's name on it. So
it's around the Slumdog era, wasn't it? So,
ticker tape.
It's that sort of kind of like loud, joyous poster.
Yes.
But actually doesn't tell you what the film's about at all, really.
No, it's fucking Mamma Mia's fault. And I know you like it, but that was the start of it.
Yeah. Thanks for outing me as a Mamma Mia fan, by the way. Yeah. So that'll be next week's episode.
You call Maradona a munter.
Well,
he was quite handsome when he was younger.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah. Well, I guess I was kind of more visualising the kind of like late 80s, early 90s coke-addled...
well, true. Okay.
Doesn't quite hold a candle to Piers Brosnan in the Mamma Mia series of films.
That's true. I could never win that argument.
And I don't know what his singing voice is like, so
we know what Piers Brosnan's singing voice is like.
There must be a video of Maradona singing in Argentina or something. Sure,
I'm sure there will be, and if not, I'm sure we can get kind of AI to kind of put him in Mamma Mia, maybe.
You might have done a Christmas song with Donny Osmond.
Yeah. Well, let's make it a reality.
Well, AI. Exactly.
Honestly, AI Maradona into for every character in Mamma Mia.
Yeah,
that'd be so good.
Yeah. So if any listener has any time on their hands and wants to make that happen for us, please do.
If they're listening to this, they have time.
Yes. So go and do it.
They have
please.
Another one. Damned United.
I was thinking about that.
Couldn't not mention it. Obviously, as a Derby fan.
That's great.
Cloughy. It's the only film from that director. What's his name?
Tom Hooper.
Yeah, it's before Tom Hooper transitioned into sort of soulless, artless Oscar bait for Daily Mail readers.
That's it. Yeah,
that's to my mind his only good film.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. I know, like, might be slightly because a lot of people like the King's Speech. I've already expressed my grievances about it. I know Les Mis was like fun but long.
I enjoy Les Mis. I quite like that one, but I would also say there's not enough football in it really.
What, Les Mis?
No, sadly not.
I was going to say,
it's quite a lot in Damn United.
Yeah, that's a problem, really. Like, I was just thinking, like,
the one thing the French Revolution needed.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about it. Like,
probably chilled them out more.
Jean Valjean was like a prisoner for like what 18 years, was it? Like, could he have not had a kickabout at some point?
Yeah,
no.
There's plenty of severed heads around.
No, exactly. Like, could they not have got a football in Bastille? Oh wait, no, it's after the French Revolution, so that would have been. That was knocked down. They could have put a football pitch on top of it. So,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe they should have thought about that. Yeah. But that's it's in the past now, isn't it? I enjoyed Les Mis, but I do think The Damned United is comfortably Tom Hooper's best film. I think it really complements his style because he was originally mainly a TV director. He did like John Adams for HBO, which is a really impressive miniseries with Paul Giamatti.
Okay.
But I feel like his visual style really works for the era of football. I feel like the attention to detail with recreating kind of moments in football history really impressed me in that film. And obviously Michael Sheen as Brian Clough is uncanny.
Great, and he's such a good actor, isn't he?
Yeah. And it's just yeah, it's just a really compelling story, and that's what the best sports films do. It shows you the kind of rivalry between kind of Brian Clough when he was manager of your beloved Derby County.
Yeah.
And
Don Revie.
Don Revie's Leeds United, and his eventual and unsuccessful reign as Leeds United manager.
Yeah. It always hurts to know that we could have kept him.
Yeah.
If the board didn't just kick him out.
Yeah,
Kicked him out, and he went to Leeds. That didn't go well, but then went to Forest and won 2 back-to-back European Championships.
Yeah.
Such an interesting story to adapt successfully. I don't know how they managed to get the ball rolling on that one.
But I feel like maybe Danny, you can take the lead on this one, because I feel like you could probably encapsulate better how important a figure Brian Clough was and why he was such a compelling figure for a film. Really.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something inherently cinematic about him. I think there's like a duality to Brian Clough. That's like, obviously the more popular image of him is this sort of very combative, no nonsense sort of type who would like eviscerate press, lay into players who were shit, who he thought were shit. Yeah. But there was also someone that was genuinely, from a sort of footballing perspective, an innovative and incredibly talented coach and manager, and also, by all accounts, quite a decent bloke as well, really.
Yeah.
And I think within that duality that makes him so fascinating as an individual, because he has this persona that I think, readily cultivated,
right?
And became like one of the hallmarks of his career. But it's also that same element of his persona that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Obviously, Don Revie.
Yeah.
I mean, the rivalry between Leeds and Derby was pretty big at the time during the sort of early 70s, because that's when we were the 2 best clubs in England at the time.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And he also had this ability to transform teams from like mediocrity to like world class teams at the time.
Yeah, because he took over, I think, both Derby County and eventually Nottingham Forest when they were both in the bottom of what was then the 2nd division.
Yeah, we were in obscurity till he came along.
And took them both to being champions of England.
Yeah, powerhouses of the national game, which is a feat in itself.
Yeah.
And I think the only kind of comparable kind of part of that in football now, because of how much money's taken over, so it's very difficult for teams to go from so low to the top, would be Leicester City's success in 2016, which was like unprecedented, and it probably won't happen again for another probably quarter to half a century. But I think what was compelling about, like you said, about Brian Clough was all of those things. He loved attention as well. He would attack the media, but he loved the media as well. He loved being on TV. He even got, now if you watch the film, like, he gets called out by Muhammad Ali for being a loudmouth. So you got to be quite Yeah, you got to be a bit of a shithouse for that. Yeah, quite larger than life to get that. His personality is both the kind of source of his success and the source of his failure at Leeds United,
and his personal problems as well.
As well,
like a bit of an alcohol problem. Didn't he?
And I think it's incredible performance by Michael Sheen. Lots of nice little performances by other kind of good, kind of like English actors in there as well. Some like kind of smaller roles, like you've got obviously Timothy Spall playing Peter Taylor, his long-time assistant.
Statue of him and Peter Taylor outside Pride Park.
Yeah,
is it?
Jim Broadbent as chairman of Derby County at the time.
It's not the only time he played a character that was affiliated or had something to do with Derby County. In Another Year, the Mike Leigh film, is set in and around Derby. He's from a family of Derby fans.
Oh, fair.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's cinematic.
There we go.
Yeah.
Broadbent's a ram.
He is.
Yeah.
That's what I took from it.
Yeah. And even very tiny, you got Stephen Graham playing Billy Bremner.
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't say a lot in the film. He's just like he's a great actor. He's Billy Bremner, who kind of looks a lot like him. I think that's one of the more kind of successful kind of sports film. I think the only I don't know how financially successful it was, but and I think that's why there's not many of them. But I feel like that is probably one of the best versions of it in terms of like telling the true story of a football figure, because there is a lot of larger than life personalities in football, but again, they're just not as cinematic as like American counterparts, I don't think, or at least like, you know, not back in the day anyway. Maybe more so now.
I think Clough was he was a rarity, wasn't he?
Yeah,
of the time. I mean, there are obviously a lot of other managers at the time who were equally as skilled, you know, creating wonderful footballing teams, but as a character and as a persona, so his own man, wasn't he? So, you know, so separate from the sort of gentlemanly sort of attitudes towards the game of the time. You know what I mean, not to say that he was disrespectful always, but you know, like, you know, he was a different animal, which I think made him both so compelling and also drew so much ire from others.
Of course.
But you know, shall we maybe, because we alluded to it earlier, and like it's probably like we say, one of the reasons why we say it hasn't been as successful as kind of American sports is because it's mainly the British that make football films, but the Americans have tried it. Yeah, they've done a few. Yeah. One that comes to mind for me, and I believe it was alluded to earlier, is Escape to Victory. Yeah. Directed by the one and only John Huston.
I mean, I always forget John Huston directed that.
It is insane.
It is. But it's actually a good movie, I think.
I would definitely say so. I mean, if you want like a quick pitch of what Escape to Victory is, in case you ever... Let's be honest, you will probably, if you ever are flicking through like ITV4 on a Sunday, you're going to see Escape to Victory at some point. Yeah. But it's essentially, what if you took The Great Escape and had them play a football match?
Yeah.
And that's what they did. It's got Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Just after Rocky.
That's crazy.
Just after Rocky.
It was crazy.
Is it 81?
81, yeah. So that's about Rocky 2.
Yeah, so
like,
78, 79 was Rocky.
It feels, Escape to Victory feels older.
Yeah,
because it has that sort of classic, like Where Eagles Dare and all those kinds of films. Like, it has that sort of classic, sort of World War II revisionist feel to it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's that. I mean, it makes sense, obviously, because it's post-Rocky. But
essentially, if you listen to this, it's probably one of your dad's favourite films.
Max von Sydow?
Max von Sydow. That's what's even... It's one of the reasons I always loved Max von Sydow as an actor as well, because he probably one of the greatest film actors of all time.
Yeah, like some of his work with Ingmar Bergman. Yeah, it's like
he's someone
unassailably good.
Yeah, like he's someone who's worked with Ingmar Bergman and Bobby Moore.
No one else could say that. No one else could say that apart from Max von Sydow.
Yeah,
like Bobby Moore. Can we just take a moment?
And half the Ipswich team.
Yeah, and Ozzy Ardile, Pele.
Yeah.
It's a real melting pot of talent.
It really is.
Whereas most, I think I remember you saying this, Lee, because you were the first person to show it me many moons ago. But I remember that we remarked, like, even if like Pele and Ozzy Ardile weren't particularly great actors, they have like a certain charisma to them that can carry. I remember you saying it's that their charisma that papers over the cracks of their sort of performance. Whereas.
Bobby Moore, let's just say he's from the David Beckham school of acting, where you can't act.
He's essentially an inanimate object.
Yeah. You know, he delivers dialogue like there's marbles in his mouth, or like I am talking a podcast. But you know, there's no confidence whatsoever.
No.
They barely get the words out, and it's just a lot of kind of staring gormlessly behind Michael Caine as he delivers the dialogue. But as you should, because Michael Caine's there for a reason.
It's a fascinating experiment, isn't it?
It is.
Like, I'd like, just to get, obviously some of the greatest players in the game and then mix them with...
Yeah.
And I guess, because they're all prisoners of war, aren't they?
Yes.
So that's why they're all in this melting pot. Sorry. This is why they're all in this sort of situation. Is they're all prisoners of war and they're playing against the Nazi occupiers.
So like, Michael Caine is like one of the prisoners of war. I think he was like an England international or something like that.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, of course, I feel like that's the sort of spirit that the England team need now. Is
exactly.
Like, if Michael Caine was leading the team,
they should change the strip.
To the
Escape to Victory strip.
Or maybe dressed as a character and Dressed to Kill.
With the strip over the top. Fucking love that movie.
But no, Michael Caine, ex-England footballer, prisoner of war. He's basically doing like the Steve McQueen from The Great Escape kind of role. A bit rebellious, but he gets on with them all right. He behaves himself, Then the commandant of a kind of camp, who's played by Max von Sydow, I believe recognises him. I can't remember if he's also an ex-footballer or
he just loves the game.
He just loves the game. Game. And obviously, he notices that Michael Caine's there, and basically arranges to have a football game between like the kind of prison guards and the prisoners. Obviously, to kind of show how great the Reich is, and how great they are at football. They can beat old Mickey Caine's ragtag squad of ne'er-do-wells. You've got Sylvester Stallone in goal.
Between the sticks.
That's such a strange place for him to be in this. You'd think he'd be...
I think essentially it's because he's like shit at football, so they just stick him in goal. Like, you always had that at school, didn't you? And I think he just wanted in the game so he can try and escape. So they're like, all right, get in goal, Sly. And then so you've got a mixture of kind of you've got your Stallones and your Michael Caines, and then obviously to make it look like a good game of football, they've cast a bunch of footballers, so you got half of the Ipswich Town squad at the time.
They were quite good then, weren't they?
They were. It was under Bobby Robson, I believe, so they were pretty decent. Obviously Pele and Ozzy Ardiles, who were the kind of like top stars at the time. Well, Pele had just retired, but he was, and still arguably is like the greatest footballer to have ever lived. Ardiles, like pre-Maradona, he was like the Argentinian superstar. Recently joined Tottenham at the time, which was like a big deal, or just about to. World Cup winner. Bobby Moore, again, obviously slagged off his acting, but he was the
hell of a
centre-back, World Cup winning captain for England. You get the stuff. You want to get the football fans in there as well, and I think this is where the Americanism, it kind of doesn't work in this context for Bobby Moore anyway, because obviously there is a history of sports stars translating to film. There's a lot of ex-NFL players who've become successful actors. O.J. Simpson.
He's genuinely good in Naked Gun. It's a shame.
It is.
Nordberg.
It's just a shame he never found out he killed his wife, isn't it?
I know. Yeah. God, that's gonna that dogged him, didn't it? To the end.
Honestly, he could never recover from that. Really, no matter how many prank TV shows he tried to make. There's been a history of sports stars translating to film. You got like your Jim Browns,
Dwayne the Rock Johnson,
Dwayne the Rock Johnson nowadays, and like Carl Weathers.
Oh yeah, of course,
I absolutely love him in Arrested Development. I've just
he's so funny,
he's hilarious in it.
Yeah, he's
such an undervalued gem, I think.
He really was.
Wayne Rooney in that wine advert.
Yeah, in the Casolero del Diablo wine advert, of course.
They say he's a legend.
Yeah. But this also kind of it sums up the point really. A lot of American sports stars are so well media trained. They're so natural in front of the cameras.
It's all part of their job, isn't it?
All part of the job, and football's beginning to have that. But you
have contract stipulations, don't you? You have to have media. I think that's always been the case in the 90s.
Yeah.
But you are right. There's a bit more. Maybe they're coached in terms of media, like a media personality in America.
Yeah, like it's so media trained in America, so like it's easier for sports stars to translate. Because like,
that's an interesting point.
Because you look at like LeBron James, decent actor.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was pretty decent as well in Space Jam. You know, Shaq has mixed success. But anyway, it hasn't it didn't quite work at that point because most of the
Has ever been a
footballers.
successful footballer actor? David Ginola? Didn't he act for a bit?
It's probably Cantona or Vinnie Jones to an extent.
I suppose Vinnie Jones has been in, he was in sort of Lock, Stock, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And to be fair, he wasn't terrible.
He was all right. He played he played like a dad in it. Do you remember? And like the whole thing about...
Yeah.
I just forget that.
He's in The Gentleman recently, that sort of TV show.
Oh, yeah. He's in a lot of naff sort of straight to DVD.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
But
he's when he's utilised correctly, probably like he was as a player. Like he's very good at what he does. Like
What's the film where he plays like a murderer on the tube?
Midnight Meat Train.
yes, that's right.
Early Bradley Cooper role.
That's right. Yeah.
He's quite decent in that. Actually.
I quite like that film.
Yeah.
One of two good tube-based movies.
Yeah.
The other was Creep. That's a great film. Not football related though.
No.
It is.
But
Certainly
yeah,
is.
long story short, Bobby Moore's shit at acting in Escape to Victory. He did win a World Cup though, so I can't really take the piss too much.
Yeah, we'll let him off.
He's better. The scales have been balanced.
Yeah,
definitely.
The Escape to Victory is based on a 1961 Hungarian war film called Two Half Times in Hell.
Yeah.
Oh, I never knew that. No.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because I think it's like...
Bobby Moore in that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
It came at the same year that 4 or 5 years before he won the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably understand the Hungarian film without subtitles better than I understand Bobby Moore speaking in Escape to Victory.
Yeah. Oi, pass me
The ball.
the ball.
But at the same time, I think what's good about Escape to Victory is the fact that Houston is very good at ultimately he knows the strengths and weaknesses. So he knows that Pele you can put at the front because he is naturally charismatic, because he was probably one of the rare footballers who, again, he's been in so many adverts and he's been put in front of a camera since he was like 17 years old when he so he was quite slick in front of the camera. Am I going to get him to play Othello? Maybe not. But, I wouldn't be against him doing a good job.
You're saving that role for Wayne Rooney anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think Rooney would master it because, he does kind of look like Orson Welles now. So,
I never made that connection.
yeah.
I'm not hear you besmirch the waistline of Derby's saviour.
Listen, I'm not. I'm just saying they look very alike.
They
now.
do.
We
need to get him to wear a cape.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Maybe we should do a remake of Dial F for Fake starring Wayne Rooney.
I'm in for it.
I'm down.
Like a shot-for-shot remake as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the Gus Van Sant Psycho experiment.
Oh God, yeah.
Here is a trick. That's what I should. That's my David Beckham impression. They're all the same.
Yeah, sounds pretty good to me.
It's still better than Bobby Moore's performance in Escape to Victory. But no, I think Houston uses this the talents well. He knows some of the footballers aren't so great, so we'll stick them behind Michael Caine and Stallone. Let them do the heavy lifting. You got Max von Sydow as the bad guy, hamming it up, having a great time. He's got that kind of devilish smirk when he's up to devilish Nazi evil doings. Mainly around football. Doesn't quite go into too many kind of heavy aspects of World War II.
Nope.
As you can imagine from a kind of Sunday dad movie.
Sunday dad movie. Yeah.
It literally is the epitome of Sunday dad movie.
The kind of person that's sort of allergic to sort of nuance.
Okay, yeah.
But it's also got a good soundtrack as well. It's very much Bill Conti from the Rocky series, doing like a kind of knockoff Great Escape like theme, but it works really well for the film, complements it, and it's a solid film. I think financially it didn't do well at all.
It made. I looked up. It made 27 million. It's not too bad.
Oh, that's solid then.
What was the budget?
12. So
okay, that's actually quite reasonable.
It's all right. I think based on the kind of star power, even for that early 80s, it could have done. I think the expectations were probably a lot higher
for that budget then as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Star Wars was 11 million.
Yeah.
So this cost more than Star Wars.
Yeah, and it does not look like it.
No.
But it's a very decent film.
I think it's just one of those cinematic oddities, isn't it? You sort of always scratch your head as to work out how it got made.
Yeah, right.
There's a few films like that just exist. I always think about, is it the Western? Is it Red Sun?
Yeah.
With Charles Bronson, Toshiro Mifune, and Alain Delon. I always think, how the fuck did that get made?
Why? Yeah.
There are just some films that just exist, and the fact that they exist is enough for it to be good.
It's when you see people in a project, it's like, how did they get these in a room together? Like, how is this? Completely,
a lot of money,
completely unrelated, but somewhat sports based. So kind of indulge me on this. It's just like a weird I was just scrolling through Amazon Prime the other day, and I didn't watch this, but it was some kind of documentary, a comedic travel documentary, and it had Maya Jama, Jack Whitehall, and Lawrence Dallaglio going around Italy together, and I was like, who the hell put these three together and thought, let's take them on a trip to Italy and broadcast it. It's genuinely. I'm actually really curious. Did they just was it a dartboard thing, or was it
it's dispatches from the cultural toilet?
Honestly, I almost slightly understand the Jack Whitehall and Maya Jama one because I could. That's why? What the hell's Lawrence Dallaglio got to do with it?
What is he there?
People a kind of the rugby captain from 25 years ago. What's that all about? But anyway, sorry, it just made me think about it, and I was again sometimes the randomness of pop culture is a real mystery, and I think
we heard my pitch for a programme.
I'm ready for it. What?
It's Peter Andre.
All right, go on.
I'm sold.
Yeah. Just him for 90 minutes, just staring.
Intently at the camera.
Yeah. Go on.
Peter Andre. Wesley Snipes,
Holly Willoughby,
yeah, go wine tasting in
Japan. They go rice wine tasting in Japan.
Yeah, okay. I'm keen.
Why not?
Well, kind of going towards.
Wesley needs money.
Well, he does. Yeah. The taxman do come a calling.
Yeah. Wesley, this is bank account number for the Cayman Islands. No. I think it might be, mate.
Yeah.
No.
Well, sorry to kind of, I'm going to throw a little something out here, and it's kind of similar to what we were just doing then. So, let's just say maybe one of the big movie studios is coming to us.
Okay.
They're going, right, we heard what you were saying about Escape to Victory. We're giving you the keys to the kingdom.
Ooh.
We're remaking Escape to Victory.
Oh shit!
In 2024.
Does it have to be the Second World War?
Could it be the Gulf War, perhaps?
I guess the Second War was the only time where a lot of sort of Allied soldiers,
a lot of POWs. Yeah.
So I guess it makes sense.
Most wars these days are fought from the sky.
I mean, you can pitch it maybe I don't know, you have Saddam Hussein as the bad guy,
okay. Let's stick to World War II.
Yeah, I think World War II might make more sense. Unlimited budget, you can cast whoever you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's got to be again similar to the original. It's a mixture of.
So it's basically 75% footballers, 25% actors.
I think so. So. Okay. And we've got to think about this carefully as well. The actors we cast might have to do a lot of heavy lifting, or is there any particular media friendly celebrities you think might fit in well?
Okay,
That's really good. So who would play? Start off with Stallone's role, the goalie.
Stallone.
Who would play that
the
role?
goalkeeper, not really into football, a bit rebellious guy, and you're mainly trying to escape.
I think he's got to be a Yank. I mean,
He's got to be a Yank, I think, and obviously, I guess that's the one. Yeah, I imagine the studio will be kind of probably going like
John Cena.
Ooh, John Cena's a good show.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. I think he'll be quite a good presence on set.
Yeah.
Seems like quite a fun-loving man.
Yeah, very professional from what I hear. He's got comedic chops.
Yeah,
and
screen presence. Yeah.
Screen presence, and if a fight's going down, he can give a few people some kind of attitude adjustments.
Exactly.
I'm surprising that it was quite a confident first.
I know,
I think, we locking in John Cena as our goalkeeper.
I think so.
How are we going to do this? Are we going to do it as an 11? 11, and then maybe
Sido's character as well, obviously.
Okay, so 12 in total.
So we've got a goalkeeper of John Cena.
Yeah.
How many? So
can we have some?
Let's do the actors first.
Okay, actors first.
So Michael Caine. So the leading man.
Yeah.
Really, isn't he? He did this.
Yeah. I think we can safely say that Colin Firth's out of the picture, unless you want.
So it's Bobby Moore, I think.
Yeah.
He's got to be like
Cumberbatch, something like him.
You can go Irish as well, or like someone with a bit of European panache, maybe.
Okay, we don't have to stick to England, do we? Necessarily.
Or we can get like maybe
Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah, you get. I think I won't be able to get him out of Russia. I don't think. I guess that's a logistics problem. Or in prison wherever he is.
I have no idea what's cracking on with him. Okay, so write him off.
You can get a man of the continent if you.
Do you know who I'm going to say?
Yeah, who are you going to say?
Antonio Banderas.
Ooh. Okay, all right.
I like it.
Yeah.
I feel like he could be kind of.
Could he be like the side?
I think he could be the side. I feel like he'd be kind of quite a kind of slick, stylish, maybe like like a left back, like a left wing back.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
I can see Antonio Banderas being.
He's done those kinds of films. What was that dance film he did?
Oh, Save the Last Dance.
Save the Last Dance. Yeah.
There was that spate of films.
Spy Kids, isn't it?
Yes, he is.
And the latest SpongeBob film.
Oh, okay. There you go.
He lives in England as well. Well, I think partly.
Really? Wow. There you go.
So logistics.
The UK government will let him in then. So that's
yeah.
I don't know why I keep.
Gerard.
I'm going to throw an actor into the mix I feel might be a bit of a charisma machine. Okay. Glenn Powell.
Powell?
Yeah, he'll be in there somewhere.
He can play like another one of these sort of like indifferent Americans.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe, especially coming off his performance in Hitman.
Yeah,
where like he's got. I feel like almost him and John Cena could be like almost like a little double act.
Yeah,
I feel like they could bounce off each other quite well, actually.
Cool. Right.
And he's got the kind of he's got the Top Gun kind of vibe. You either go comedic or you go Top Gun.
Cool.
I've got someone for Michael Caine.
Yeah,
Damian Lewis.
That's a yes from me. Not that I have. I don't know how we're doing this.
He plays football.
He does play football. He's done a few of the soccer eights.
Yeah.
He's done a few of the soccer eights.
Yeah. Handsome, has aged well.
Charisma.
Yeah.
Well regarded. Not cancelled.
That's always good.
Yeah, I don't think so anyway.
I like Damian Lewis, but I'm trying to think, is there someone else we can get bigger? Because I'm thinking, I like Damian Lewis, but is he like Kane level?
Kane in the 80s?
Yeah.
Probably not.
You know what I mean? Like, is somebody going to go and see the next Damian Lewis film?
They're probably going for the Cena.
Yeah, I think Cena's.
And we've got an ensemble here, haven't we?
Yeah,
the three. Think of the poster with the three of them reenacting the trophy.
Lewis, Powell, Cena. Who'd have thought? You know what? I think you've sold me on it, and he's got a bit of that kind of good old boy kind of look about it.
Yeah.
I could see that. And I'm going to throw another actor in here.
Okay.
And this, hear me out, also has a bit of a history with Soccer Aid. Danny Dyer. He's become a bit obviously I know he's got a bit of a history of the bloke-exploitation films and stuff like that, but I think he has become a bit of a national treasure now.
And I think this film does need to have like a sort of a certain air of English naffness to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our other choices are, I'm with you, yeah.
And he would absolutely love it on that set.
Yeah,
like,
I
feel like already we're talking about this cast. There's some good vibes going on here.
Yeah, you're having fun there.
This is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun.
No, I agree.
You know?
Okay. So pick some footballers now.
Now it's time for footballers. Yes.
Digitally de-aged Emil Heskey.
Sold. Sold already.
Millions of the film's budget just for de-aging Emil Heskey.
Yeah.
He's
the destroyer himself. Yeah. We share a birthday. He's got history against Germany as well, scoring in our 5-1 victory in 2001.
Yeah, he scored a double.
I think he only scored the one. I think Owen scored a double, but he is coming nowhere near this set. Which is hard for me to say, and I think I've already on this podcast
he would make Bobby Moore look like fucking Laurence Olivier.
Yeah. Yeah, you've seen his, helicopter through Dubai video. It's kind of testament enough to show
he doesn't watch films.
And he doesn't watch films, so he'd be wasted.
So we immediately hate him anyway.
Yeah,
for that reason.
Owen's out. Heskey's in.
Yeah, I'm up for that. Heskey's in.
And
we need to get a couple of like.
We need to get a superstar in it.
Yeah, like a superstar.
Superstar.
Do you know? I could imagine playing like sort of like a. I think in the context of like a more multinational picture, I think Mbappe would work quite well.
Mbappe would be good. French resistance.
Exactly, yeah.
Speedy.
He seems like quite a cheeky lad.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine
star
a little
power.
Hat.
And I think he's probably like, in a way, he's probably like the modern. He's basically football's Michael Jordan, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree.
Like his star power, like how
his
he,
talent,
like like how smart he is with like the media and like kind of contracts and kind of like his whole image.
Yeah.
That's bringing some money into the box office.
Oh, fucking A.
And boy, will we need to. Especially if we're given all this power. I think
it would be quite good with that choice.
I think this is a solid little team. Actually.
Yeah. Who else do we need? We need midfielders, defence.
Yeah, I think we need. Well, I think if we're going to superstars as well, we'll stick him at the back. I don't know how good his acting will be, but you got to go Messi. Lionel Messi. You got the South American market as well. Ardiles.
Yeah.
Natural.
We do need an Argentinian in there.
You need an Argentinian in there as well to,
Are we doing like a sponsorship? Is there going to be some kind of?
Well,
I mean, it's World War II, but I don't know if we can sneak in like Lucas Aid or something. Just really quickly, I don't know.
Why not?
Squeeze some more money in.
Yeah.
Well, we need to pay for that de-aging Emil Heskey.
Yeah.
So let's see. So we've got Danny Dyer in goal.
No, it's
John Cena in goal. Apologies.
All right, good.
Antonio Banderas at left back.
Yeah.
I'll go Danny Dyer at right back, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we've got Damian Lewis, Glenn Powell midfield, I think.
I like it.
In the middle.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
We've got...
to strikers.
Yeah, so we've got...
Mbappe and Messi.
Mbappe, Messi and Heskey up front.
Okay.
Three-man strike force.
This is,
It's a three-man midfield, so
exactly.
who's playing in the deep-lying central, sort of playmaker?
Pirlo. Handsome man. He was Italian, so
that makes sense. He could have been a partisan fighter.
Exactly, communist maybe, or especially with that long hair and beard, the fascists wouldn't have tolerated that. Gorgeous man.
Yeah.
And he's got his own vineyard, so the set would be, well stocked of wine.
Like Caligula.
Exactly.
Lucas Aid, isn't
it? Yeah. Lucas
maybe just in the background.
And and you know what? you talk about Caligula. I got my centre half partnership: Malcolm McDowell and Helen Mirren.
Okay.
Sorry, you just made this a bit too woke now, Lee.
Is that right? Listen, I think
chuck her in.
I think she's got real leadership skills,
and
she's got a commanding presence.
She could be like a sort of British spy who was caught or something.
I think so. I think so.
Okay, I'm with you.
I'd take her. Yeah, definitely.
And I think obviously
100%.
with Caligula, that there's a well-established kind of partnership there.
Sexual,
Yeah.
like Malcolm McDowell. He must be knocking on.
Well, listen, if you're old enough,
Are we sure he's still alive?
I don't know.
We're going to find out when he's dead.
He's still alive.
Because CGI.
Oh,
No, but what
Malcolm
I've always
McDowell.
said is if you're old enough, you're good enough. And
Okay.
yeah. Or maybe do we give Malcolm McDowell? He's quite villainous. He's been quite villainous.
I think we need someone with a bit more sort of. The only person I could think was Daniel Bruhl.
all right. Yeah.
I almost feel like he's been
Could he be an understudy, like a second in command?
Just sort of a lackey.
I
I
almost feel like he's kind of.
He has been that guy.
He's done it a bit too much, really. And it's like, do you want to get a German or do you want to get someone who's going to go big? Do we want to get someone who's going to ham it up?
Do you think Bruhl would blend into the background a bit too much?
He's
very serious.
Too competent an actor.
Yeah.
And he has been typecast for sure.
Yeah. He's great in Rush. He's still alive, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Hope you're doing all right.
Well, throw a bit of an idea out there.
Ooh.
What about John Travolta?
As a Nazi.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Would he do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
and
Travolta now. He's got nothing on.
Okay. Yeah.
Or do you,
I
he'll
think
go big. He'll go
I
big.
think something along those lines.
Yeah. Just think that delivering the same way like he's delivering the lines in Face Off.
Who was the villain in Final Score? We didn't talk about that either.
Oh, of course, yes. A special mention of Final Score, the fantastic film shot at West Ham's former stadium, Upton Park, where Dave Bautista takes on terrorists during a West Ham football match with Piers Brosnan. Here we go.
Oh.
It's made me think.
Brosnan. Would he be a good Nazi?
Brosnan.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. You got to go. We got Piers Brosnan.
I'd take
the
that.
top boy.
His accent in Final
boy
Score
Nazi.
is something special.
Yeah.
The death of Tony Cotti being one of the finest moments in
Of
cinema.
course.
Would he have an eye patch, do you think? Would he give Brosnan an eye patch if he was a Nazi? Are we going that hokey? Or is that a bit...
Can he wear one of those really sort of almost like...
Very stylish. Are you thinking like Tom Cruise in Valkyrie?
Yeah. That's probably where I got it from.
I like that.
Yeah.
In some films of Nazis, they wear those leather jackets, which just looks like PVC.
Yeah.
He has to wear one of them at all times, regardless how hot he is.
It hasn't rained in 10 days. So I don't care.
I'd take it.
But thank you for reminding me. Special shout out because we saw that masterpiece together at the cinema. Fantastic, very much Die Hard knockoff with Dave Bautista riding a motorcycle off the side of Upton Park whilst a West Ham player scores a goal because the game continues even though there's a guy literally riding a motorcycle off the side of the stadium. Major health and safety issues there. But there was a lot going on at the stadium that day. There was a full-on terrorist
Pierce
attack.
Brosnan had gone mad.
But back to our Escape to Victory remake. I think we've got a good lineup here.
That actually has legs. I think.
Yeah. So shall we fully go through it again? I don't know if maybe we want to do some sort of graphic. Put on the social media. Later on. So
John Cena in goal.
Antonio
Banderas left back.
Yeah. Danny Dyer right back.
Helen Mirren and Malcolm McDowell in the middle.
A centre-half partnership of Malcolm McDowell and Helen Mirren. And then in the centre of midfield...
Sitting deep, we've got Pirlo.
We've got Pirlo accompanying
Glenn Powell
and Damian Lewis.
Yeah. Heskey,
Mbappe and Messi.
Yeah.
Strike.
19-year-old Heskey.
Yeah, good.
Cool.
You know, and then we've got a villainous performance by Pierce Brosnan
As a Nazi.
as a Nazi arranging the game, and just like a variation of probably second Bundesliga players for the Nazi team, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe Daniel Bruhl actually might be a good captain of the Nazi team.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We need to give one of them at least a sort of a few lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be some three-dimensionality. Got to be. I don't know if this is the case in Escape to Victory, but it's got to be a moment in which they both realise that each other are human.
Yeah.
Daniel Bruhl could be quite good for that.
Because the film is essentially also like Mean Machine or The Longest Yard.
Which is often compared to that Hungarian film, by the way.
Yeah,
it's very similar.
So there's a variation of that. The other team, they need a bit more dimension, and you got Daniel Bruhl in there, maybe a Thomas Muller. He's then again, he's a bit too funny, and you don't run it funny.
Yeah.
Maybe if he's like pratfalling, like good player, but maybe like he gets hit in the nuts or something. So Thomas Muller maybe.
I can see that.
And
I wonder if they'd have any sort of reservations about playing it, but they haven't got any choice.
Yeah,
it's a great side.
Agreed.
So.
I think it would actually draw in a good audience.
I think so,
because there's a few deep cuts in it. I feel like Heskey's like a deep cut.
Yeah.
But then you've got like the star power of Cena and Powell, and but then you've got these sort of the classic English actor.
Lewis.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's sort of really quite in the spirit of the original film.
I honestly think in this year's Euros as well, they'll actually go quite far.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd say they'd probably be dark horses.
Yeah.
But sadly, UEFA hasn't given us permission to enter a team into Euros, but maybe it's because they're scared.
Yeah. We have to make up a country.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. I can't wait. Can't wait to make it. 100 million, maybe. I think it probably cost about 100 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
there's a lot of talent in there.
Yeah.
A lot of explosions as well.
Yeah.
Hope,
de-aging. Maybe Perlo can cook us some nice dishes as well.
Yeah.
Well as provide the wine. So
98 million save on catering, so he could just cook all the food.
Yeah.
£2 million of catering.
Yeah.
Maybe we see if he's got like a football pitch next to his vineyard or something as well. Like it's not that much of a commute. Get some tents.
Yeah, you know who else is really good at wine? Wayne Rooney. We should get him involved with the wine side of things.
Yeah, it's true.
They say. No.
He is a legend.
He is a legend.
But yeah.
Happy days.
Football's in cinema. Completed.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
Outro.
Questing the cinematic void.
There we have it then.
Yes. There we have it.
Interesting.
Yeah, good. Enjoyed that.
Thanks as always for coming on, Lee.
Pleasure as always.
It's been good. Yeah.
Thank you for the idea as well. It was all yours, baby.
Yeah. I think it was just if it was just me and you, Danny, I would have been a bit stumped. I don't think there would have been much football chat, and I would have sort of been scrabbling for kind of phrases.
Well, I think it's ironic that considering it was my idea, Danny encouraged it, and you're less interested in football, you were the one who did the most research for this episode. So,
that's true. You actually watched the film in preparation.
I think it's worked out kind of all right in the end.
I wish I watched Escape to Victory. I nearly did. But
your lack of kind of football cultural capital, if you will, is more than made up for you actually making an effort.
Can't even blame Havey for this time.
No.
Just quickly, England tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Slovenia predictions.
I think, you know what, I was going to be cynical, but I think they're going to comfortably win to kind of clap back at all of us giving them shit. And they've deserved kind of a criticism they've had, but I've got a feeling that they're going to take it a bit personally, and maybe Slovenia might fuck around and find out. But I presume by the time this episode comes out, they would have lost 3-0.
Oh yeah, of course.
So,
what time's kickoff actually? Is it?
8, I want to say.
I might be able to edit it before then, so it might come out right before the game.
Oh wow, okay.
I'm predicting 2-1 England in the last 10 minutes they'll get the second goal. That's what I think. Yeah.
I'm going to go. I think it'll be. I don't think we'll be as good as we want them to be, but I think we'll be comfortable. So I'm going to say 2-0.
Yeah, I think 2-0 is a good, like, it's enough that it's like, it's not an impressive performance, but enough it's like, hey guys, we fucking won.
Yeah.
Chill out. So.
And quickly, predictions to win the tournament?
I feel like it'll be either Portugal or France.
I got France in the sweepstakes at
You lucky
work,
bastard.
so I'm so happy.
Switzerland. I mean, not bad, but I mean...
Unfortunately, my sweepstake, I actually got Slovenia. So,
really?
so, you know, obviously, if they beat England, it's not the end of the world for me. So, one step closer to glory.
Yeah, I will say... part of me wants to say Spain, because I think they have been the best team so far, but I think they might... They don't score enough, I don't think.
No.
So I will probably say France, yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, a little deviation.
Footy
boys to footy men.
That's it.
Let's redirect the course of the discussion away from the beautiful game to the beautiful medium. We will watch this film. We will do it.
That's our guarantee.
Yeah. We will watch the films we talk about as a film podcast. That should be a prerequisite.
Take some antihistamines. We'll go.
Yeah. Jeff Nichols's The Bike Riders.
Yeah. Awful title.
Dreadful.
But interesting enough cast. I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with Austin Butler. I do think he's a good actor. I think the way he conducts himself in interviews I find a bit odd, but and I really like Jeff Nichols. Mud, obviously. You mentioned Take Shelter.
Take Shelter or Gimme Shelter?
Take Shelter.
Gimme Shelter's the
Rolling Stones song. Yeah. Martin Scorsese's favourite song.
Is it?
He's in loads of his films.
Oh, yes.
Didn't he do a documentary called Gimme Shelter about
I think he might have done, yeah.
He also did one about George Harrison, didn't he?
Really? Apparently, he's quite a prolific documentary filmmaker.
He does keep himself busy.
He does.
Yeah. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Austin Butler. I think his problem isn't necessarily himself; it's more the sort of media fervour around him. I think that annoys me about him. It's the same with Timothy Chalamet as well.
Okay, yeah, I think.
Or there is something about him that slightly annoys me.
He's a bit New Yorky, isn't he, Chalamet?
Yeah,
he's very New York.
Yeah.
Whereas Butler is more like sort of very introverted. It wouldn't surprise me if he spent ages talking about how method he was, kind of thing.
Right, yeah. A bit serious.
But interesting as an actor, anyway, nonetheless.
I'm interested. I did see, going past like a bus poster for it, it said, one of the reviews said, and I fucking hate the way some sort of like mainstream reviewers review things, but it was like, Goodfellas on bikes.
Bikes doesn't sound as kind of cool in England.
That sounds like such a
BMXs,
2000s like Nuts or Zoo magazine. Like they'll give it either like 5 explosions out of 5 or like 4 tits out of 5.
Where's Kelly Brook?
Not enough Brook. 4 stars.
Too nuanced for my taste.
Where's Abby Titmus?
Where's Abby Titmus or Tamer Hassan?
Wait, is he in this one as well? Can I join?
We should have fucking put him in our Escape to Victory remake.
I can.
No.
We had to pick one cast member of Football Factory and Danny Dyer.
Him and Damien Lewis.
Yeah.
So Bike Riders next week.
Yep.
Quite looking forward to that. I, like yourself, am quite a big Jeff Nichols fan. I think he's tapped into this certain slice of Americana quite well. I'm intrigued about this one. It seems a bit of a deviation from that.
I'm hoping, because I didn't really get on with Sons of Anarchy that much. I've got like 2 seasons in, and I really hope it deviates away from that formula. Looks like it isn't gonna, but
I don't think it probably would have existed if it wasn't for Sons of Anarchy.
No, definitely not.
I don't know, maybe, but I just feel like the popularity around that is sort of endured.
Yeah.
So got that to look forward to. In the meantime, thank you for getting through yet another episode. Thanks again to Lee.
Thank you.
And we will catch you in the next one.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.